All right, old school NBA fans, self-research NBA facts. Got another video for you. Again, I just want to say thanks to all who subscribe to my videos and watch my videos. I mean, it's just, I'm not a huge channel right now, and I'm okay with that. I don't need to have, tens of thousands of subscribers or anything like that. I mean, feel like I'm reaching the people that I need to reach, and I'm good with that. Some cold hard facts out there, some undisputable things. Hardly had any pushback at all. Maybe some hardcore LeBron people, but anyway, it's all good. I'm fine with how everything's going. This video here is something that I guess it's always been in the back of my mind, but recently I heard Chris Broussard. Now, Chris Broussard is a guy who gets on Fox, and he's like the Jordan guy, the guy who defends Michael Jordan, sticks up for Jordan, the what about this, blah, blah, blah. But he also loves LeBron and thinks he's like right on Jordan's heels at number 2, and I couldn't disagree more. I disagree with more of what he says than agree with, no doubt about it. He thinks Kobe is barely a top 10 player, Shaq carried him. I've heard him say these things, allude to these things. And, I just disagree with the guy. He thinks Steph Curry's a top 10 player now, and he thinks Hakeem is outside the top 10. That's crazy to me. And anybody who doesn't think so, we can debate this all day, because I love my position. So, Steph Curry, we all know that, he won 4 championships, 2 with Kevin Durant, 2 without, okay? First few years of his career, though, he didn't do anything. Missed the playoffs, I think, the first 3 years of his career. I think he won 1 round. The next year, bounced from the first round. And that's okay. But he had all-NBA and all-star type players, like Monty Ellis. He had David Lee on his team. He had some pretty good players. But not until Klay Thompson and Draymond Green came along, and then Steph Curry, the coach, did they actually go to the next level. Andrew Bogut came to their team. They had Harrison Barnes, Jarrett Jack. They had a really good team to run the system they were going to run. Now, obviously, Steph Curry's a great three-point shooter. Some would say the best ever. And, I may not disagree with that. But you would have to say Hakeem Olajuwon is the best shot blocker of all time. So he does something the best ever, too. He has the most blocks per game. I believe he has the most seasons of 3 blocks or more at 9. So that's something right there that needs to be acknowledged. Hakeem has the quadruple double. He's one of 14 players to lead the league in 2 of the 5 major stat categories in the same season. So on and so forth. Now, in Steph Curry's career, he has a total of 4 times he was in the top 5 in MVP. In 21, he finished 3rd. In 19, he finished 5th. And he won it in 15 and 16. 4 times in the top 5. That's it. Hakeem Olajuwon, in 86, he was 4th. In 89, he was 5th. In 93, he was 2nd. In 94, 1st. 95, 5th. 96, 4th. So, according to my calculation, that's 6 top 5 in the MVP. Now, yeah, Hakeem has 1 MVP, Curry has 2. Okay, sure. But Olajuwon has 2 Defensive Players of the Year. Curry's not even anywhere near that. Now, in their careers, who would you think had more 40-point playoff games? Curry has played 113 of them and Olajuwon 109. The high-scoring, 2-time scoring champion Curry, who do you think has more 40-point playoff games? Curry's got 9, Hakeem has 11. There's an answer to that question right there. Now, at this point in their careers, Hakeem Olajuwon at age 36, just where Curry is right now, Hakeem Olajuwon averaged 23.25 points per game. Curry at 24.8. So he's only a point and a half ahead of Olajuwon, and that's Curry's side of the ball. If we look at the other side of the ball, it's a damn joke. Even in steals, at the same age. Olajuwon is at 1.84 steals per game through his age 36 season, which would have been 1999. Curry is at 1.5 steals per game, and this guy has a steals title. Olajuwon beats him in 3 of the 5 major categories. Usually when you compare a big guy to a little guy, the rebounds and blocks go to the big guy, the steals and assists go to the little guy, and then points is kind of the decider. In this one, Hakeem takes 3 out of the 5 right away. Takes 3 of them, and he's almost within a point and a half of Curry on points per game. Olajuwon went to the finals 3 times in his career. 3. He had 3 legitimate shots at a championship. He won 2, so that's a 66.66% chance. Just like Curry went there 6 times, won 4. 66.66 chance. Same exact percentage. Now, Steph Curry in his 6 finals, he played one team that was a number 1 seed. That was the 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers. He lost to that team. Hakeem Olajuwon, all 3 that he played were number 1 seeds. He beat 2 of them, lost to the 1. And the team that he lost to was the hardest place to play in the history of the NBA, at the Boston Garden in 1986. The team that was 40-1 the regular season, 49-1 including the playoffs. The toughest place to play in the history of the NBA. And people want to talk about, why didn't Jordan win in there? Why didn't Olajuwon win in there? Nobody won there. I mean, Portland won earlier in the year, the first quarter of the season, whatever. No one won again. It was like something like 35 or 36 straight games at home where they did not lose. But they still took them to 6 games. They won 2 out of 3 on their home floor. And you look at Boston, they had 5 Hall of Famers. There was Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson, who's barely a Hall of Famer. That's it. 2 against 5. He still gave him a hell of a series. And some say he might have been the best player on the floor. So, let's look at competition a little bit. How many times do you think Steph Curry played a player, played a team that had multiple players in the top 10 in MVP? One time. That was Oklahoma City in 2016. Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, 4th and 5th for MVP. That's it. Every other team they played in their entire playoff, in Curry's whole playoff career, it was always just one player in the top 10 in MVP. Every team. It was always, James Harden and role players, Damian Lillard and role players. That's the way it just always was. Anthony Davis and role players. That's just the way, that's what it was. Hakeem Olajuwon in 1986 played Magic and Kareem and beat them in 5 games, by the way. A better team than Curry ever beat. He never beat anybody like the 86 Lakers. I don't see how that's even up for debate. They were 62-20. They had 3 of the top 12 players in MVP, if you include Worthy at 12. 2 in the top 5. Then they, of course, Larry Bird, who was the MVP. In 95, that magical run in 95, you had Stockton and Malone finish 3rd and 8th. And Shaq and Penny were 2nd and 10th. And there was a whole bunch of other ones that were right there, like Robinson and Rodman were 1st and 12th. In 94, Malone and Stockton were 7th and 11th. Boston in 86 was 1st, tied for 13th and 18th. A whole plethora of players. Now, in their careers, counting themselves, how many All-Stars do you think Steph Curry had in every series that he played versus the other team? Steph Curry's Warriors, including himself, in every series, so like the first round, say there's 2 All-Stars, that's 2. If they take those same 2 to the next round, that's another 2. You just keep counting it because you have to go against the other team to factor that in. Steph Curry and his Warriors, 83 All-Stars in his playoff career. versus his opponents, 34 All-Stars, less tthan half, for a balance of plus 49. Hakeem Olajuwon in his playoff career, 41 All-Stars, and he played against 46 All-Stars. So he was -5. Now, how many times did Hakeem Olajuwon have a teammate who made All-NBA? He had one second-teamer his rookie year, Ralph Sampson, and he had one third-teamer that he had for only about a third of the season plus the playoffs, Clyde Drexler, that they won the title in '95. Now, Steph Curry had a total of 8 All-NBA players on his team. Now, how about All-Defense? Hakeem had a total of 2. I believe it was Scottie Pippen in '99, and it might have been Robert Reed, I think, somebody. That was it, 2. 2 players on the All-Defense his entire career. Steph Curry? I don't know. How does 11 sound? 11 players, including the Defensive Player of the Year, Draymond Green. He had Andrew Bogut and Klay Thompson. Draymond Green made a bunch of them. They were always highly rated defensive team as well. Curry had 5 teammates in his whole career that were top 10 in MVP. Hakeem, only the one, and that was Ralph Sampson, who finished 10th. That's it. Defensive Player of the Year. Steph Curry had 11. Hakeem, just 2, including none in the top 5. Curry had 6 teammates who finished in the top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year. Only, and including a winner. Olajuwon never did. Now, how many teammates got Curry 30-plus points in a playoff game? How about 36 times? Hakeem, he only got 16. Again, not even close about the amount of help. It's just not close. And then when you want to come down to the awards, which I know everybody does, Curry won 2 MVPs, 1 Finals MVP, no Defensive Players of the Year. Olajuwon has 1 MVP, 2 Finals MVPs, and 2 Defensive Players of the Year. Going by that, that's a 5-3 in Hakeem's favor. Even if you throw rings in there, that's 7-7. And again, Olajuwon beat more number 1 seeds than Curry did. It's the truth. So my argument comes down to this. Curry had an extraordinary amount of help from his teammates. With Durant, without Durant, didn't matter. He had an extraordinary amount of, obviously with Durant, it was just crazy the amount of help he had. And Hakeem just didn't. He did have some pretty good players later in his career, but that was when he was in his mid-30s already, past his prime, and there was other players that were past their primes. Barkley, Drexler, they were past their primes, let's face it. Whenever Hakeem had even a decent team, he took them somewhere. He led them. His signature play was the block in the '94 Finals, Game 6, when John Starks is shooting the 3 to win it. And Olajuwon comes from under the rim, runs out, and blocks it to force a Game 7 that they win. That's his signature play. I don't know that Curry really has one. Certainly nothing dramatic like that. The other part of my argument is Olajuwon played tougher teams. You know, the Utahs, the Lakers in the late 90s, Seattle Supersonics, these were good teams. The Celtics, the Lakers of the 80s, both of those teams, really good teams. Phoenix, the list goes on. They played some really tough teams. And I'm sitting here looking at Steph Curry's competition, and there's nobody really knocking my socks off. And he had a lot of help from injuries, too. Like Kawhi Leonard in 2017, Western Conference Final, they're thrashing him by over 20 points. He gets hurt. That's it. They're done. Cleveland, 2015 Finals, they were up 2-1 without Kyrie and Kevin Love. Those two were out. Imagine if they were there. I feel like they would have won that series. Now, yeah, 2016, Draymond Green was hurt. or suspended, and Bogut was out one game. And I know in 2019, Klay Thompson missed one game, and Durant was out for the whole thing. But still, they got beaten 6 to Toronto that series. They benefited more from injuries. How about the 2018 Western Conference Final? They're down 3-2. Chris Paul gets hurt, and then they again benefit from an injury. And the 2 toughest series they probably ever played was in 2016 against OKC. They had 2 of the top 5 players in MVP. They're down 3-1. They do come back to win that. And then in 2016, I understand Curry was hobbled, the suspension and all that, but they allowed a team to come back from 3-1. That's a black mark. I don't know how it's not. Curry missed the playoffs this year. How's that not a black mark? I don't understand how we just give Curry a pass. He missed the playoffs like 5 times. Hakeem only missed it once, and that was in I think 1990, and he barely missed him, and he had no kind of help at all. But anyway, anybody thinks that Steph Curry is ahead of the pecking order than Hakeem Olajuwon, then you need to really go back and look at the comparison, because there is no way Steph Curry has had a better career or is a better player than Hakeem Olajuwon. I'll leave you with this. Steph Curry's side of the ball is offense. That's his strength. Olajuwon's is defense. Even if you think Olajuwon's defense is a wash to Curry's offense, so I still think Olajuwon's slightly better, but let's just say Curry won 2 MVPs, Olajuwon won 2 Defensive Players of the Year. Let's say that's a wash. Now look at Olajuwon's offense versus Curry's defense. That's a laughing joke. Olajuwon was a much better player, just was never given the teammates in his prime to make it happen. When he was given a somewhat decent team, he won back-to-back titles. And I know what you're going to say, oh, Jordan wasn't in the league. That's true. But again, we're dealing in fantasy land. We don't know what would have happened. In 95, Jordan was there. He got beat in the semifinals. He didn't make it. So we don't know. He was there. So the only year it comes down to is 94. And we'll never know. In the regular season, Houston used to beat the crap out of the Bulls. So we're never going to know the answer to that question. We can only live within reality. That's why when people bring up injuries and suspensions, there's nothing you can do about it. You can only judge it by what actually happened. And what happened was Hakeem Olajuwon, sorry, I don't know why I had Kareem in my head, beat Kareem and Magic in the West Finals in '86. The only team to beat them from '84 through '88. That was it. Well, I'll take it back. From 85 to 88, in a 4-year period, one team beat them, Houston, and they beat them in 5. It wasn't even close. And he beat 2 number 1 seeds. Curry beat 1. Didn't even beat the best that the East had to offer. Played 1 number 1 seed and lost in 2016 after a 3-1 lead. So anyway, that's it. Kind of a longer video. There's a lot of information here, but again, a calm truth is more powerful than a passionate lie. Thanks for watching.